We're going to break down the latest Dane Brugler mock draft of The Athletic, trades, all the first-round picks, and some picks for teams without a first-rounder as well. And that is exactly why you sub to us here on our NFL Draft by Chat Sports YouTube channel. Breakdowns, all the draft buzz, plenty of mock drafts, and more. If you haven't already, join us. It's free. We got a trade to get things going in this Dane Brugler mock draft. The Browns jump up from number 5 to number 1, giving up what Dane projected as both their first-round picks this year. He said probably a 2027 day 2 pick, which I think is fairly reasonable as well. The big takeaway I've got from Dane's mock draft is, and we'll get to pick number 2 in a little bit, you want a quarterback, you got to go move up to get one. Titans obviously don't need one. Browns do. Fernando, Mendoza, with Dane saying scouts have given the comps to Jared Goff and Kirk Cousins, which, if Kevin Stefanski is the head coach, I think actually fits very well in Cleveland. He does not have the same high-level, off-the-charts physical skill set, but he has been really good this year for Indiana. All right, number 2, the Raiders also getting involved in a trade here. Dane did not go into details on what the trade compensation would be, which always makes me sad. But the Raiders jump up to number 2. Giants slide down. Vegas takes Dante Moore, the quarterback out of Oregon, who I don't know if he's going to go pro. Then again, if Oregon makes a good college football playoff run, if he gets word he's going to be a top 5 pick, boy, does he turn that down. He's only 20 years old, not going to even have 20 starts on his resume, but the talent is really good. Arvell Reese, who Dane has as his number 1 overall player, to the Saints, the edge / linebacker / kind of do everything. There are going to be a lot of Jalen Walker and Micah Parsons comps on that front. Wide receiver, another Ohio State player. This time it's Carnell Tate, not Jordyn Tyson. I was a little surprised Dane put him at number 4 overall. I think Dane kind of surprised himself a little bit there. He would fit very well with Malik Neighbors. We'll talk about why Jordyn Tyson maybe wasn't the pick here for the Giants. But I think Carnell Tate did everything I wanted to see and more from him this year for Ohio State as part of that dynamic wide receiving core. So predictions. Who will be the first wide receiver drafted? Is it Carnell Tate? Is it Jordyn Tyson, who we'll discuss here in a little bit? Mekhi Lemon? Maybe a dark horse Denzel Boston? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Titans trade down, get a much-needed edge rusher. If they get the number 1 overall pick, they're trading it. They're not keeping it. It makes no sense to them to do that, given there is no Myles Garrett-esque prospect in this year's class. They trade down, still get one of the top defensive players, Keldric Faulk. The production isn't necessarily there, but the physical traits, the flashes, he's very young, by the way. Dane kind of gave him the Michael Williams comp. In this class, that could easily be a top 6 pick. Rueben Bain, another edge here, out of Miami to the Washington Commanders. The short arm length is going to be a concern for teams, and he hasn't been as good as he was to begin the year, but that Notre Dame tape lives rent-free in my mind. The Jets get a wide receiver, Jordyn Tyson. So no quarterback trade up there for the Jets. They maybe punt it down the line. Very talented player. Dane gave him a Stephon Diggs comp. Medical concerns. He has missed significant, or at least notable amount of time, pretty much every single year of his college career. That is something to keep an eye out for. Number 8, David Bailey, who I am a huge fan of. Now, the Big 12 tackles maybe aren't always the best, but he has consistently gotten production against whoever he's gone against there. Leads the FBS in pressures per Dane, 12.5 sacks. Awesome, awesome football player. I do worry about what Tech is going to do on offense, but the player is worthy of a top 10 pick in this year's class. Rams get a tackle with this pick that comes to them via the Falcons, by the way. Spencer Fano, the Utah offensive tackle. Again, this class in general, there's not... The glaringly obviously great players are not at the tackle spots. Fano's a good player, but is he a top 10 lock? I'm not actually convinced, but the need probably means he will. Love this pick here for the Bengals. Caleb Downs. I get it to safety. Guess what? I don't care. This is arguably the best player in the class, and the Bengals need an impact defensive player. If they actually get a top 10 pick and Caleb Downs is there, this should be a sprint to the podium type of scenario. So maybe a surprise pick here, Jeremiyah Love to the Minnesota Vikings. Kind of a similar conversation as Caleb Downs of this is pretty clearly one of the best players in the class, but how much do you want to justify spending a pick on a running back? What are they going to do at quarterback, frankly? But impact-wise, Dane's line has always been, you get the most explosive player in the draft. That's not a bad thing either. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. It is the holiday season, the best time of the year for sports, bowl games, basketball matchups, playoff pushes, all happening at once. And while you and I are making decisions every day, what gifts to buy, what to eat, what game to watch, there's one place where it feels good to be right, and that's PrizePicks. They now offer early payouts. If your lineup gets off to a hot start, you might have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even ends. Not just pro football, college football available on PrizePicks. Trizzy Trace, who does some of our Arkansas coverage here too, cooked up this little SEC power play. You can do the flex if you want to be a bit more conservative with it. Jeremy Bernard, a half touchdown more than passing yards. You're going to Stockton and Ty Simpson. More on him in a little bit, by the way. PrizePicks is simple to play. You pick more or less on at least 2 player stats. Get those picks right, you could cash in. It's available in 45 states, including California, Texas, Florida, and Georgia. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Over to the Dolphins, one of my favorite players this year, Mansoor Delane. We now have some size metrics from Dane, which I haven't seen previously. 5'11", 191 pounds, 30-inch arms is not going to be for everybody, but he allowed 13 catches all year. He's really good. Just take the good player. Don't be silly sometimes. I love this fit for the Chiefs. This is going to be a very popular pick until the Chiefs, by the way, draft order based on the current draft order. So until the Chiefs get out of this top 15 range, everyone's going to mock him, Kenyon, Sadiq, and as the Travis Kelce replacement. The Steelers take a quarterback, Ty Simpson, who is very inexperienced, was on a heater for a good portion of the season. November wasn't as good. Then again, he gets December and maybe into January to showcase what else he's able to do. He is an older prospect, which is certainly worth mentioning as well, despite the lack of experience in terms of snaps and everything. Doesn't have to go pro. None of the guys you mentioned are like, obvious got-to-go pro guys for a lot of these early-round picks because NIL's changed things. But Simpson, Dante, more guys who could go back to school. So predictions, the way too early version. How many quarterbacks go in round 1 in the 2026 NFL Draft? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Dane's got the Panthers taking Peter Woods, pairing him with Derek Brown. Also made note Carolina was going to take Mason Graham had he fallen to them in last year's class. Cowboys take a gamble at number 16 overall, Jeremiah McCoy, who hasn't played at all in 2025. At this point, I don't think he's going to play in the bowl game. He was awesome in 2024. He's going to have enough time to get medically cleared from the NFL Combine. Had he played like he did in the 2024 class, he probably would have been a top 10 pick, if not even a little bit higher than that. But the uncertainty of having not played does complicate things. Caden Proctor to Alabama, out of Alabama to Detroit here is super fun. And even though Ben Johnson's gone, they can still dial up some trick plays to him if they wanted to. This is a Taylor Decker replacement, and maybe gives them an option at guard, potentially as well. Back-to-back tackles here, Francis Mauigoa. Dane has him listed as a tackle/guard, which tracks. There's been plenty of buzz that some teams view him as a guard more so than a tackle. But if you're Houston, take the best offensive lineman available is certainly a good idea. Though they've been better up front as of late. Number 19, Caden McDonald. Another Buckeye here. I think McDonald as a run stopper is awesome. It doesn't give me a ton of pass rush juice, but he has been a huge factor in the Buckeyes defense being so stout all season long. Next up is Sonny Styles. For those of you doing math at home, it is another Ohio State player in round 1, the 5th total. I like his fit in Tampa. He can do some blitzing stuff. Just turned 21, by the way. He's 6'4", 237. Dane's got him at 4.5 speed. You can blitz him. He's a great fit long-term for Todd Bowles' defense. So 5 Buckeyes in round 1 in this mock draft. That's a lot. How many Ohio State players do you think end up getting drafted in the first round when it's all said and done? Let me know in the comments of today's show. Bills get a wide receiver, Denzel Boston, and Dane actually called this his favorite fit because he can do inside stuff, can do outside stuff, can maybe be what the Bills were hoping they were going to get out of Keon Coleman a bit more. Vega Ioane, excuse me, I kind of botched that one there. Ioane out of Penn State. Tyler Steen has not been great. Landon Dickerson's been banged up a decent amount. Adding a guard doesn't always fit the Eagles' go-to method of premium picks only, but offensive line certainly counts there. The Jets at 23, they used the Sauce Gardner pick to replace Sauce Gardner. Brandon Cisse out of South Carolina, NC State transfer. There's another NC State transfer coming, by the way. He has been really good this year for South Carolina, been a big-time riser kind of this season, and I think will be going into the pre-draft process. I've seen Dane be high on him. Mel's been high on him. That's a pretty good indication. Makai Lemon out of USC. Receivers now back on the board since the Brandon Ayuk era appears to be over. He's undersized, but he's a great route runner, and he went to USC. We know who the comp is, right? Right? Number 25, Cassius Howe out of Texas A&M. Really, really short arms. And that's going to be a huge concern for a lot of teams. But all he does is win for the most part. So I think back end of round 1 is a no-brainer pick for me. I will probably be higher on him than I think where he ends up going because there's going to be teams that get too bent out of shape about the arm length. KC Concepcion, the other NC State transfer on here. This is the Texas A&M currently wide receiver. Top 10 in the FBS in yards after catch at 7.6. That's pretty good in the end. I think kind of does some more slotty stuff for Tennessee, which I think does fit pretty well with Jimmy DK and LKO Manor and maybe a veteran they add in the offseason. Cowboys here again. This pick by way of the Packers. C.J. Allen. I love it. Getting, I think, like an actual signal caller at linebacker to pair with a, knock on wood, a healthy DeMarvion Overshown makes a ton of sense for the Dallas Cowboys. Number 28, Chris Bell out of Louisville. Dane was, I think, one of the first guys to be super high on him. He's 6'2", 225, and runs a 4.4. Yeah, that guy's going to go early. Kind of a fun fit. Don't know what they're going to do with Cooper Kupp long term, but on the outside, the big body to pair with JSN is quite fun. Avion Terrell, the cornerback out of Clemson. Fun fact, Rams haven't used a top 75 pick in a corner in 10 years. Crazy. Now, they've actually done better this year than I thought they were going to, but Terrell's got that dog in him, the younger brother of A.J. Terrell. Good fit there. Caleb Banks, and this is tough for me, basically hasn't played, but he's 6'6", he's 330. He probably would have been a top 75 pick last year. Got 35-inch arms. He's going to appeal to plenty of teams out there. The Bears at 31. Here's TJ Parker. So a pretty big slide for the Clemson edge who just hasn't had his best stuff this year because nobody on the Clemson side has. Elite name alert. Monroe Freeling out of Georgia. There's been a lot of buzz on the other Georgia tackle, but Freeling has kind of been the one who's emerged this season. I think protecting Drake May, giving Drake May a boost, that's always a good idea. So grade Dane Brugler's 2026 NFL mock draft. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. A, B, C, D, or F. All right, the teams without first-round pick. Dane did not mention what spot they were picking, so I just left it as a blank there. Falcons, Jeremy Bernard. I do think wide receiver is a huge need beyond Drake London. Kyle Pitt's going to be a free agent. They don't have anyone reliable enough on the outside right now beyond London. One of Dane's favorite guys, Jake Golday, the linebacker out of Cincinnati, gets to take a little short drive over to Indianapolis there. 6'4", 235 has been a big part of a kind of under-the-radar Bearcats linebacking or defense this year. Keith Abney, the Arizona State cornerback here, did not allow a touchdown all season long. There was 15 corners who played at least 430-something snaps. Abney, the only one, did not get picked off all year. Jags adding defensive help there makes sense. Packers going corner is almost a no-brainer right now. Davis Enigmanosin, he's 6'2". He's got 33-inch arms. He runs a sub 4.5. He's also a penalty machine. So you got to be okay with that because he will make plays as well, but the penalties are going to be a red flag for plenty.